Hey, what's good, guys? Clutch and Essam here, back in another video. And for today's video, we're going to be talking about the Houston Texans. And free agency is going to be starting up very, very soon, within the next couple weeks. And personally, I'm very, very excited. I'm even taking a week off of work to be able to catch all of the signings, be able to make some videos and whatnot. It's going to be a very exciting time. I love free agency. I love the draft. I really, really love the offseason. Probably one of my favorite times of the year, of course, outside of the normal season. But yeah, free agency is going to be starting up. And as we know, the Texans are a very attractive spot for players right now. Aaron Wilson confirmed it. Patrick Storm on Twitter kind of confirmed it with releasing that Josh Jacobs, DeAndre Swift are all pretty keen on coming to the Texans. And I wouldn't say I'd be very surprised because Houston, they have a very big chunk of money. And they're a contending team. Players look for those two type of things. Obviously players are going to want to get paid, but then when they can get paid and come to a contender or at least a playoff team at the same time, that's a win-win for them. And not to mention, Texas is it's a tax-free thing for players, so they don't get that much taxes out of their pay. And players obviously they see that. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. And then, Houston, it's a very, very good city. It's in the South. The weather's not too bad. Pretty good energy, pretty good city. Has everything you need. If you're a family man, you have a kid, like a player, then, it's a good city to raise a family, your girlfriend or wife or whatever. It's a very good city all around. So Houston has a ton of good aspects for players, and it seems like it's going to come true. Players, they've already voiced out, they've already advocated. Players like Saquon Barkley have already texted CJ Stroud about coming over here. Josh Jacobs is interested in coming over here. And I'm sure a lot of other different positions are interested too. And the point of this video are a couple of guys that I think would be a major, major signing for the Texans. A couple of these guys may not be the biggest of names, but in terms of what they bring and their contract, I think it's pretty much should be considered a big signing. Now, my first one is Christian Wilkins. And, of course, this signing is probably only made if Jonathan Grenard walks. But I can definitely see Houston and Christian Wilkins kind of falling in love with each other. Christian Wilkins from Clemson, he played there from 2015 to 2018. He was teammates with maybe I shouldn't say this, actually, but he was over there in Clemson from 2015 to 2018. A very good player, drafted the Miami Dolphins, and those two things kind of correlate for me. Both are kind of teams in the South. Miami, of course, South Beach. Clemson, of course, kind of in the Southeast. Similar weather. I don't know if I can say similar weather, but both don't really get too cold. Both are moderately kind of warm, and I think he would be used to that weather, like that weather. And what does Houston have? Similar weather. What does Houston have? Money to pay him. What does Houston have? A contending team. And Christian Wilkins, he brings something that the Texans don't already have. A great run stuffer from the interior defensive line. Now, he can also rush the passer, but the most sacks he's had in his career is 9, so almost double digit, and it was this past season. And yes, it's kind of interesting. It comes in his contract year, something similar to Jonathan Grenard actually goes off in his contract year. But Christian Wilkins, I wouldn't say I'm too worried about that because his main game is stuffing the run, stopping the run, getting in the backfield, trying to disrupt the play and stuff like that. He's not really a pass-rushing defensive tackle, so I'm not worried about that at all whatsoever. If you bring in Christian Wilkins, it's primarily to be that run stuffer. I feel like him and Malik Collins are interchangeable, really. You can have both of them on the field at the same time. Malik Collins, for me personally, he's probably a better pass-rushing defensive tackle, I think. It's not saying Christian Wilkins is bad. Malik Collins, he's a pretty good pass rusher from the interior. I think he's a very underrated player. Obviously, he's not this elite, top name, top guy, but he's a great piece to have, a great rotational piece to have. And if he's your second starting defensive tackle, I think that's a pretty good lineup. You have Will Anderson, you have Christian Wilkins, you have Malik Collins, and then on the other defensive end spot, maybe you have a rookie, maybe you have like a Chop Robinson, maybe you have a Latu, or maybe Horton comes back from whatever he went into. I know he was placed on the not the injury list, but some list that performed or that that doesn't let him play or something. I don't know. Or maybe we bring back Derek Barnett. We have a rotation of guys in the other defensive end spot. But a defensive line of Will Anderson, Christian Wilkins, Malik Collins, and then either a rookie or a plethora of rotational guys. I feel like that's a good defensive line. You have the pass rush figured out. You have the run stuff. You have the rotation there. I feel like Christian Wilkins would be a great signing. Now, in terms of money-wise, I think he's probably going to command around that $20 million range, similar to what Jonathan Bernard is going to command. But personally, I think it's harder to find good defensive tackles than what it is to find good edges. I feel like you could find a solid edge in the free agency, off the street, more so than you can find a good defensive tackle. And I mean, we kind of proved that with Derek Barnett. Derek Barnett wasn't performing to his best in Philadelphia. We trade for him, change the scenery, and he comes to Houston and he provides he proves to be a very valuable player for us. I mean, obviously not a starter, but a good rotational guy. I think he had like 4 or 5 sacks for us in the second half of the season, including the playoffs. So a pretty good pickup there. In worst case, we just re-sign him or fix his contract up. I know if we cut him or don't bring him back, I think we save like a certain amount of million in cap. But personally, I think he'd be worth it as a rotational guy. We know how much DeMeco Ryans loves to rotate his pass rushers, and he brings a type of pass rush that we don't really have. I mean, Will Anderson, he's more of the speed guy, speed pass rusher type, it seems like. And then Derek Barnett, he's more of the power. He's going to go. He's going to read the quarterback where he goes. He's going to keep churning his legs. He's going to, keep the quarterback in the pocket while Will Anderson just attacks. Derek Barnett's going to be able to, contain the quarterback in the pocket, don't really let him escape, and push his way to the quarterback. While Will Anderson, I mean, it's not a knock. That's just his playing style. It's a very good playing style. I respect his playing style a lot. And I think that's something Derek Barnett provides. And that's a good thing to have. Different styles of pass rusher for certain situations, certain quarterbacks. Like for a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, I feel like Derek Barnett is a great guy to have. He's going to try to keep him in the pocket as best as he can. He's going to contain that edge very, very well. So I feel like that's a great problem to have. I think that's a good defensive line. Now, my second player, me personally, I think he would be a good signing. But for the money, I'm just not sure. I mean, it's good, but the money that's probably going to command definitely in the double-digit numbers. And this guy is the middle linebacker from the Carolina Panthers. I mean, I like him, but what's his name? I'm blanking on his name right now. Hold up. He's a linebacker from the Panthers. Going to be a free agent. Probably going to command a good, I would think, $12 million. I know, what's his name? I'm blanking. John Crumpler. John Crumpler, he puts out a lot of good threads on Twitter, some good articles. I know for a fact he put out an article on him, or I think he's going to put an article out on him. But he's made a lot of good threads, a lot of good tweets on him. He's very, very high on him. I kind of like him. I mean, I like him, but I just don't think I would spend $13 million. And this player is Frankie Luvu, linebacker from the Panthers. Now, Luvu, very interesting situation. I feel like he could pair up a very good duo with Christian Harris. But again, I'm just not sure I would spend like a $13 million on him. I think if he's 10 or under, I would do it. But over $10 million, I'm not sure. Because you're going to have to pay Christian Harris pretty soon in a couple of years. And he's probably going to want to be paid like one of the more higher paid guys in the league, or higher paid linebackers in the league, which he's probably going to be deserving of it at the time. But having two linebackers being paid over $10 million, I'm not sure that's a good idea, unless obviously they're worth it, which I'm sure they would be, but I'm not sure it's the smartest financial thing. Luvu, he's only 27. He's going to be 28 at the start of the season. So, I mean, he's still fairly young, still in his prime. His salary right now is $4.5 million. As I said, he's probably going to get maybe like 11, 12, maybe even 13. So I really, really like him. He brings a lot to this team. Good run stuffer. Good in pass coverage. I think he complements Christian Harris really well. Luvu is more, from what I see, more your traditional linebacker. You feel more comfortable with him, while Christian Harris is the guy that's playing with his hair on fire. He's everywhere. He's blowing up plays. He's in the backfield. And Luvu is more your traditional, safer type of linebacker. He's going to do his job. I'm not saying that Christian Harris doesn't. The Christian Harris, he just plays with his hair on fire, and that's kind of his job. As his linebacker role, he's supposed to be everywhere. He's supposed to be blowing up plays. While Luvu, he's more of that protector, more of that safe, that last resort safe option. And I think he would pair up really good with Christian Harris. Luvu would provide good veteran presence as well. I think he would help Christian Harris slow down his game as well. I would really be all for the signing, but again, money-wise, yes, we have a lot of money in cap, but that money is going to go by quick. Especially with a couple of re-signs. If we do bring back Dalton Schultz, if we do sign a guy like Christian Wilkins, that money's going to be gone pretty soon. So I'm not sure you can afford it, but you just have to be smart with how you do it. And Luvu, it will be a smart signing, but I think you're going to have to consider a few things. As I mentioned, you're going to have to pay Christian Harris pretty soon. But let's see. I think Nick Casario and D'Amico Ryan's really gonna like this player. But maybe you could find a guy like that in the draft, maybe the 3rd or 4th round. We'll have to see. But my next player, I've talked about him pretty much the past 5 or 6 videos that we've made, but it's Saquon Barkley. Now, Saquon Barkley, he's my 3rd big name signing. I feel like this signing is probably going to happen. It's the most realistic, or not the most, I guess you could say the most realistic, the most likely option that's going to end up happening this offseason. And, I really, really am in favor for it. He brings a lot to this team. He's not just a running back. He can catch the ball at the backfield. He can line up in the slot. He can line up outside. He can make guys miss. He can catch the ball on the outside. You can let him run a streak. You can let him run a fade. He's going to come down with the ball. He's a receiver. He's a running back. He's all of that at the same time. Makes guys miss. Runs the ball very, very good. He could be a power back if you want him to. He could run through guys. He could be that swift, agile guy who can juke guys, make guys miss. He could be whatever you want him to be. And I think the biggest question is probably the money and the guaranteed and probably the years. I don't think you want to get him on anything more than a 3-year deal. I think a 3-year, $36 million contract is pretty good for him. $12.5 million a year. I think his worth is probably more. For what he brings to a team. Yes, you have to bring in the health into question, but most of his injuries have been out of his control. An ACL injury and then an ankle where he literally got stepped on. So the injuries that he's had, or at least the major injuries that he's had, they're out of his control. I don't think you can blame him for that. So his worth, in my opinion, is probably closer to $15 million. He's probably not going to get that on the open market, but he's a top 5 running back, in my opinion, when healthy. So if you can get a top 5 running back for $12.5 million for everything that he brings, I'm doing it. You could cut Robert Woods and you could save $5 million right there. That's almost half of what it takes to pay Saquon Barkley. You just have to figure out the other 7, which shouldn't be a problem for us with the cap that we have. So you cut Robert Woods, and Saquon Barkley, he replicates Robert Woods and more. You could put Saquon Barkley in the slot on some plays. He could do Robert Woods' job just as good, if not better, really. Saquon Barkley is a safety option. He's a veteran. He knows how to get open. Put him in the slot. Let him do Robert Woods' job at times. He could also run the ball, obviously. He's a running back. He can do a multitude of things for this team. And then in New York, all of the eyes were on him. He was the only offensive weapon in New York. He comes over here. All the eyes are off of him. You have to worry about Nico Collins. You have to worry about Tank Dell. Potentially, Dalton Schultz. And then, of course, Saquon Barkley. That's a lot of eyes. That's a lot of players on the offense, the defense to keep eyes on. And Saquon Barkley, he's going to get open just due to the lack of eyes on defense. The defense is going to be worried about Tank Dell on the motions. You're going to be worried about Tank Dell on the screens. You're going to be worried about Nico Collins getting matched up one-on-one on a jump ball or on his world-famous in-breaking route where it seems like he always catches the ball on. Oh, you have to worry about Dalton Schultz in the flat. You can't worry about all of these guys and then have your eyes on Saquon Barkley. Just get the ball to Saquon Barkley in space. It's going to be a positive play or positive gain almost every time. Now, those 3 are probably my most favorited signings, I think. I think you could also name a couple of guys, maybe like a Chase Young, Brian Burns. Brian Burns, he's probably going to command top of the top defensive money. I don't think I would pay that, but I think you definitely do need to have at least a conversation with him, a talk with him, possibly Daniel Hunter. I would personally prefer Wilkins over Hunter and Brian Burns. Now, Brian Burns, he's still pretty young. I think he's like 26 or something. Christian Wilkins, he's going to be 29 at the start of the season, or at the end of the season, actually. But, yeah, I feel like the Texans can't do really any wrong. You could re-sign Jonathan Grenard. You could draft a defensive tackle. You can sign Christian Wilkins and draft a defensive end. You can do so many things. But my favorite formula is probably for the whole offseason. My personal favorite formula is sign Christian Wilkins, draft a defensive end either in the first or the second, and that should solve your defensive line problems for now. You have Will Anderson, Christian Wilkins, and then a rookie edge. And then for the offense, sign Saquon Barkley, possibly sign a Curtis Samuel or a Kendrick Bourne, or even draft an Xavier Worthy at 59. I mean, I feel like those solve your major problems. You get your slot, you get your running back, and then on defense, you fill up your defensive tackle spot. And then you fill in Jonathan Grenard's spot if he does end up walking, which seems like it's probably going to be more likely right now. And then as far as linebacker, you could get Luvu to not really replace Blake Cashman because I feel like they do different things. But Luvu can probably be a better overall linebacker than what Cashman was for us. Or you could draft a Peyton Wilson or a Edgerrin Cooper from Texas A&M, something like that. You can do a lot of different options to the Texans. Should be a very, very fun next couple of weeks. Next week of the Combine, of course. Free agency starting up pretty soon. But yeah, I mean, let me know what y'all guys think. It's been Clutch Senior Entertainment, and hope you guys have a good day. Peace.